Hi everybody, today we're going to do a quick introduction to the staff. So your student is ready for this video if they've already had this lesson at least once in class, which typically comes after they have learned all of their keys on the keyboard and have been working on some pre-staff songs, particularly songs like Butterfly, Autumn Waltz, September Morning. That's about the transition point to the staff. So here's what we always go over in class. The staff is made up of 5 lines and 4 spaces, and this is where the notes will be placed. On the top staff, we have a symbol known as the treble clef. And the treble clef is meant to look like an old-fashioned G, and that's going to be important when we start talking about the placement of the notes on the staff. So the treble clef attached to this staff becomes the treble staff, and this is where we're going to place the notes that are above middle C on their piano. This symbol is the bass clef, and when put on the staff, it's called the bass staff. And this is where we're going to place the notes that are below middle C on their piano. So typically, at least to start, your right hand is going to be on the treble staff notes and your left hand is going to be playing the bass staff notes. So together with this brace, we have what's called the grand staff, and that's the staff that's used for piano. So the next thing we talk about is how a line of music using the grand staff is going to be divided into sections. Now, these lines that are used to divide it are called bar lines, and the sections created by those bar lines are called measures. And every measure has something in common, and that's that every measure in a song has the same number of beats. Now, to be honest, that can change over time, but it requires that this symbol change. So let me be clear. At the beginning of every song, there's 2 numbers stacked on top of each other. This is called the time signature. And the top number tells us how many beats, not notes, how many beats are in every measure. So in this song, we're starting with 4 beats per measure. So that could take many forms. We could put a single whole note, that's 4 beats. We could put 2 half notes, that's 4 beats. We could put 2 pairs of running notes that are each a beat and 2 quarter notes. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 beats. Lots and lots of rhythmic options. Now, the only thing I wanted to say, to go back to my point a minute ago, is your time signature can change in a song, which would then mean that there are a different number of beats per measure, but that's not going to happen in these early stages. Okay, so the bottom number, I don't always talk about right out of the gate, but the bottom number tells us what kind of note equals 1 beat. So if we're thinking in terms of fractions, this bottom number would be 1/4. So a quarter note equals 1. Now, at this point, that's all your students know, is that a quarter note equals 1. So the bottom number, sometimes we don't go into it at the beginning. The top number is very important. Okay, so we have our bar lines, we have our measures, we have our time signature, we have our treble and bass clef, and then the last thing we talk about at this first information session on the staff is this note. Okay, so floating between the treble staff and the bass staff is this note with 1 line through it. and that is our middle C. Sometimes the middle C is drawn closer to the treble staff, and your right hand's going to take care of it. Other times that middle C is drawn closer to the bass staff, and your left hand's going to take care of it. But as long as it looks exactly like this, one line through it, it's middle C, okay? So I'm going to take one more step because often we do this at the same time. If you imagine that that line that's going through my middle C is an extension of the staff, it creates a space too. So there's now a space under the staff. That is the note right above middle C, which is D. And the first few songs that your students are going to learn on the staff are using either only C or C and D. So, hope that helps with parents who haven't used the staff before, and a nice reminder for the students who've had this lesson in class and needed a little refresher.